She's not going to tell you with words. She's going to tell you with her hands. Right now, somewhere across the table from you on a couch in a car with the engine still running, there's a woman touching her own hair, running her fingers along her collarbone, twisting a ring she's worn 100 times before but suddenly can't stop fidgeting with. And the man sitting across from her, he's talking. He's laughing at his own joke. He's completely missing it. Because here's the truth nobody prepared you for. Women don't ask for the kiss. They open the door for it, and then they wait exactly 4 seconds to see if you're paying attention. Most men aren't. That's why they go home alone, replaying the night, wondering what they did wrong, when the answer wasn't about what they did, it was about what they didn't see. So what exactly are her hands trying to tell you, and what happens in her mind in the seconds after you miss it? If you've ever left a date confused, if you've ever laid in bed replaying a moment where you swear something was about to happen, and then it just didn't, this video is for you. Not because you're bad at reading people, because nobody ever taught you the actual language women speak in that moment. And it is a language, it has grammar, it has rhythm, and once you learn it, you will never again walk away from a moment like that wondering what you missed. Let's be honest about something first. You've probably read the generic body language lists before. She plays with her hair, that means she likes you. That advice isn't wrong exactly. It's just dangerously incomplete, because hair touching by itself, in isolation, means almost nothing. It's the sequence, the timing, the combination of signals that tells the real story. And that's the gap almost every dating advice channel refuses to close, because closing it actually requires understanding female psychology, not just cataloging gestures like a checklist. Here's what separates this video from every other one you've watched on this topic. We're not going to give you a list of 10 signs and send you off to guess. We're going to show you the psychological mechanism underneath the signs, why her hands do what they do in that specific window before physical escalation, what's actually happening in her nervous system, and why the window closes faster than you think. By the end of this video, you will understand 3 things most men go their entire dating lives without understanding. First, the exact hand behavior that signals a woman has already made the decision, before she consciously admits it to herself. Second, why hesitating in that moment doesn't just cost you the kiss, it actively damages how she perceives you afterward, even if she can't explain why. And third, the single mistake that makes women stop giving these signals altogether, a mistake almost every man makes without realizing it, sometimes for years. I'm going to tell you right now, later in this video, I'll walk you through the exact 4-second rule that governs this entire dynamic, the window in which action either builds attraction or kills it permanently. I'm also going to show you what to do if you've already missed the signal 100 times before, because that pattern is reversible, and I'll explain exactly how. But first, you need to understand why this happens at all. Why does a woman's body start speaking before her words do? Why can't she just say what she wants? The answer isn't complicated once you see it, but it will change how you read every interaction you have from this point forward. Let's get into it. Here's what most men believe. Women play games. They send mixed signals on purpose. They want you to guess, to chase, to work for it. Like affection is a puzzle they enjoy watching you fail to solve. That belief is wrong. And it's not just wrong, it's the exact belief that's been sabotaging your ability to read her correctly. Women aren't hiding their interest to torture you. They're protecting themselves from something much older and much deeper than a dating strategy, the risk of rejection. Evolutionarily, socially, emotionally, women have been conditioned across generations to avoid being the one who initiates and gets shut down. So instead of saying it, the body says it first. It's a testing mechanism, a low-risk way of signaling I am open to this without ever having to say the words out loud and risk hearing no. This is where it gets interesting. Self-touch, hair, neck, collarbone, wrist isn't random fidgeting. Psychologists call this self-soothing behavior, and in an attraction context, it serves a very specific function. It draws your eye to erogenous zones while giving her plausible deniability. If you don't notice, she loses nothing. If you do notice and you act, she gets exactly what she wanted without ever having to be the one who asked for it. Now here's the part that will change how you see every date going forward. There's a concept in psychology called approach avoidance conflict, the tension between wanting something and fearing the vulnerability of pursuing it. When a woman is attracted to you, that conflict is running in real time, and her hands become the release valve for the tension her words won't express. Watch closely, and you'll notice it's rarely just one gesture. It's a cluster, hair touch, followed by a glance at your mouth, followed by her turning her body slightly toward you, followed by a pause in conversation that feels heavier than silence should feel. That cluster is not an accident. That's her nervous system telling you the decision has already been made on an unconscious level. She is simply waiting to see if you'll close the gap she's opened. Let me paint you this scenario because I guarantee you've lived some version of this. You're at dinner, 3 glasses of wine in, and the conversation slows down. She reaches up, tucks her hair behind her ear, holds eye contact half a second longer than normal, and looks down. Not away down toward your mouth, then back up. And what does the average man do? He says, "So anyway, what were you saying about your sister?" That's the moment. That's the exact moment the window opens, and most men talk right through it. Here's the part that stings the most. When you miss that window, she doesn't just feel disappointed. Cognitive dissonance kicks in. Her brain has to reconcile "I gave a clear signal" with "he didn't respond." And the easiest resolution for her ego isn't "he's oblivious." It's "he's not that interested." She rewrites the story to protect herself. And just like that, the attraction she felt starts quietly deflating, even though nothing was ever said out loud. You didn't lose her because you did something wrong. You lost her because you did nothing at all. At the one moment, doing nothing was the most expensive choice on the table. So now the real question isn't whether you can spot the signal. It's what you actually do the moment you see it, because the doing is where almost every man freezes. Let's fix this. Not with theory, with exact action. Step 1, learn to read the cluster, not the single gesture. You need to understand that one signal alone is noise. Hair touch by itself could mean she's attracted to you, or it could mean the room is warm and her hair is bothering her. What you're actually looking for is a cluster of at least 3 signals within a short window: self-touch, sustained eye contact, and body orientation toward you. When those 3 stack together, that's not coincidence, that's a pattern, and patterns are what your brain should be trained to catch. The psychology behind this works because human attraction isn't communicated through a single channel. It leaks through multiple channels simultaneously because the unconscious mind is far less disciplined than the conscious one. She might control her words perfectly. She has far less control over where her body leans. The mistake most men make here is overanalyzing a single gesture in isolation, treating one hair touch like a green light when it might mean nothing. That kind of misreading either makes you move too early and come off presumptuous, or it makes you so anxious about getting it wrong that you freeze completely and miss real signals later. Watch for the cluster, not the single frame. Step 2, close physical distance incrementally, not all at once. When you notice that cluster, don't lunge. Don't announce your intentions with a nervous "can I kiss you?" What you do instead is close roughly half the remaining distance between you, lean in slightly, lower your voice, let a silence sit instead of filling it with words. Here's why this works. Attraction is built through tension, and tension requires a slow tightening, not an instant release. When you close the gap gradually, you're giving her nervous system time to register what's happening and lean into it rather than react defensively to a sudden move. You're also giving her the chance to close the final distance herself, which psychologically makes the moment feel like something that happened between 2 people, not something that was done to her. The common mistake here is speed. Men either move so fast it feels like an ambush, or they hesitate so long the tension collapses entirely and the moment becomes awkward instead of charged. The fix isn't confidence for the sake of confidence, it's timing. Close half the distance, then read her response before closing the rest. Step 3, hold eye contact and let the pause do the work. Right before the moment of escalation, most men panic-fill the silence with a joke or a question. Don't. Hold eye contact, let your eyes drop briefly to her mouth and back up. A universal, ancient signal of intent that doesn't require a single word, and let the silence stretch just 1 beat longer than feels comfortable. This works because silence in a charged moment amplifies anticipation, and anticipation is one of the strongest drivers of attraction there is. Talking through that pause is like turning the lights on in the middle of a movie. It kills the atmosphere instantly. The mistake to avoid, nervous laughter, or an inside joke to diffuse the tension, it feels safer in the moment because it removes the risk. But it also removes the moment itself, and you rarely get it back the same night. Step 4. Act on the signal. Don't wait for a guarantee. This is the step that separates the men who get this right from the men who write, "What did I do wrong?" in their group chat the next morning. There is no guarantee coming. She is not going to hand you a written invitation. The signal itself, the cluster, the eye contact, the pause, is the invitation. Waiting for more certainty than that isn't caution. It's a way of avoiding the small risk of being wrong at the cost of the much larger risk of losing the moment entirely. The psychology here is simple. Confidence reads as safety to a woman's nervous system, and hesitation, past a certain point, reads as either disinterest or anxiety, neither of which is attractive. You don't need to be reckless. You need to trust the read. You just learn to make and move. The most common mistake and the most expensive one is waiting for the signal to repeat itself 2 or 3 times just to be sure. It usually doesn't repeat. The window has a shelf life, and once it closes, the tension you built starts working against you instead of for you. Because now she's the one recalibrating, wondering if she misread you. You now have the 4 steps. Read the cluster. Close the distance gradually, hold the silence, act without waiting for a guarantee that was never going to come. That's the mechanism. Everything else is just repetition until it becomes instinct. Now let's talk about the part nobody puts in these videos. What happens in your head at 3 in the morning after you either missed the moment or you're waiting to see her again and wondering if you'll get another shot. That anxious replay, that mental loop of, should I have done something different? It feels unproductive, but it isn't wasted. It's the exact discomfort that's forcing you to actually pay attention going forward, instead of drifting through interactions on autopilot the way you probably have for years. Growth rarely announces itself as growth while it's happening. Most of the time, it just feels like frustration with yourself. Here's the reframe you need to hold on to. Patience in this context isn't passivity. Sitting with the discomfort of not knowing, without spiraling into a text you'll regret or a chase that pushes her away, isn't weakness. It's the single clearest signal of emotional control a woman can perceive in a man. Women aren't drawn to men who never feel uncertainty. They're drawn to men who feel it and don't let it run the show. If you missed the window this time, that's not evidence you're incapable of reading it. It's evidence you didn't have the map yet. You do now. The next cluster you notice, you won't freeze, because freezing was never a personality trait. It was just an information gap. Information gaps close. That's the whole point of tonight. And if you're worried you've missed this signal not once, but for years, with the same nervous hesitation showing up date after date, understand that the pattern isn't permanent. It's a habit, built from 100 small moments of overthinking instead of acting. Habits get rebuilt the same way they got built, one repetition at a time. The next time you see that cluster, you'll recognize it in real time instead of 3 hours later on the drive home. That single shift changes everything downstream from it. The silence you sit in while you wait to see her again. The restraint you show instead of over-texting. The composure you hold instead of chasing certainty that isn't coming. None of that is wasted time. It's the exact thing that makes you the kind of man women lean toward instead of away from. Not because you played it cool, because you actually became calm, and calm is something people can feel in a room before you say a single word. So the next time her hand goes to her hair, and her eyes hold half a second too long, and the conversation slows into that heavy, charged pause, you won't wonder what it means. You'll already know. And this time, you won't talk through it. If this video gave you something you needed to hear tonight, hit subscribe, because there's a lot more of this coming. The kind of insight that actually changes how you move, not just how you think. And drop a comment below and tell me, has this happened to you? That moment you knew you missed it? I read every single one, and your story might be exactly what someone else needs to see today.